July 7, 1914. Peace, peace over all earth, not the peace of an inconscient sleep or of a self-satisfied inertia, not the peace of a self-forgetful ignorance and an obscure and heavy indifference, but the peace of the omnipotent force, the peace of a perfect communion, the peace of an integral awakening, of the disappearance of all limitation and all darkness. Why torment oneself and suffer? Why this harsh struggle and this sorrowful revolt? Why this vain violence? Why this inconscient and heavy sleep? Wake up without fear, appease your conflicts, silence your disputes, open your eyes and your hearts, the force is there. It is there divinely pure, luminous, powerful. It is there as a limitless love, as a sovereign power, as an undisputed reality, as an unmixed peace, as an uninterrupted beatitude, as the supreme benediction. It is existence in itself, the boundless felicity of the infinite knowledge, and it is something more which cannot be said, but which is already active in the higher worlds beyond thought, as the power of sovereign transfiguration, and also in the inconscient depths of matter as the irresistible healer. Listen, listen, O thou who wouldst know. Look, thou who wouldst see, contemplate and live, the force is there. July 8, 1914. O force divine, supreme illuminator, listen to our prayer, do not go far from us, do not withdraw, help us to fight the good fight, fortify our strength for the struggle, give us the power for victory. O my sweet Master, thou whom I adore without being able to know thee, thou who I am without being able to realize thee, all my conscious individuality prostrates itself before thee and implores, in the name of the workers in their struggle, of the earth in its agony, of humanity in its suffering and of nature in her endeavor, O my sweet Master, marvelous unknowable, dispenser of all boons, thou who bringest light to birth out of darkness and force out of weakness, support our efforts. Guide our steps, lead us to victory. July 10, 1914. O thou who eternally and immutably art and who givest thy consent to thy becoming in this world that thou mayst bring to it a new illumination, a new impulsion, thou art there, manifest thyself more completely and more perfectly. The instrument has given itself and gives itself to thee in an enthusiastic surrender, a total self-abandonment. Thou canst reduce it to dust or transform it into a sun, it will resist nothing that is thy will. And in this surrender lies its true power, its beatitude. But why dost thou spare the animality of the body? Is it because time must be given to it to adapt itself to the marvelous complexity and the potent infinity of thy force? Is it thy will that wishes to be gentle and patient, and not to precipitate anything but leave to the elements the leisure to adapt themselves? I mean to say, is it better so or is it impossible otherwise? Is it a special incapacity which is magnanimously tolerated by thee, or is it a general law which is an inevitable part of all that is to be transformed? However, since it is so, it matters little what we think of it. The attitude alone is important. Must we struggle against it, or must we accept it? And, it is thou who dictatest the attitude, it is thy will which determines it at every moment. Why foresee and combine when it is enough to verify and fully adhere? The working in the constitution of the physical cells is perceptible, penetrated by a considerable amount of force, they seem to expand and become lighter. But the brain is still heavy and asleep. I unite myself with this body, O divine Master, and I cry to thee, do not spare me, act with thy sovereign omnipotence. Into me thou hast put the will for a total transfiguration, July 11, 1914. The whole physical being would wish to be dissolved and reconstituted in an adoration without limit. O Lord, thou who hast come to touch matter as the messenger of the supreme power and supreme beatitude, thou bringest to birth the conception of what the total realization can be. And when the being has believed that it has been definitively invested with thy sublime mandate, thou withdrawest, giving it to understand that it was only a promise, an assurance of what can be. Alas, great is the imperfection of this matter that we cannot retain thee. O Lord, use thy omnipotence, accomplish the miracle of thy permanent presence, why spare us so much? We must either triumph or perish. The victory, the victory, the victory. We demand the victory of transfiguration. July 12, 1914. In all the states of being, in all the modes of activity, in all things, in all worlds, one can meet thee and be united with thee, for thou art everywhere and ever present. He who has met thee in one activity of his being or in one world in the universe, says, I have found him, and seeks no more for anything else. He thinks he has arrived at the summit of human possibility. What a mistake! It is in all states, in all modes, in all things, in all worlds, in all elements that we have to discover thee and be united with thee. And if we leave out one element, however small it may be, the communion cannot be perfect, the realization cannot be accomplished. And that is why to find thee is only the first step in an ascent that is infinite. O sweet Master, Sovereign Transfigurator, let all negligence and all lazy indolence cease, gather up all our energies in a sheaf and make of them a will, indomitable, irresistible. O light, love, ineffable force, all atoms cry to thee that thou mayst penetrate and transfigure them. Give to all the supreme happiness of the communion. July 13, 1914. Patience, force, courage, calm and indomitable energy. May the mind learn to be silent and not to want to profit immediately by the forces which come to us from thee for the integral manifestation. But why should the poorest, the most mediocre, the most imperfect element have been chosen for the expression of thy will? July 15, 1914. What then, O Lord? Whatever thou wiliest, whatever thou wiliest. This instrument is weak and mediocre. Thou hast taught it that all activities were possible to it, that in all the potentialities of human action nothing was fundamentally foreign to it. But it is in intensity and in perfection alone that the divine begins, and up to now thou hast accorded to it no exceptional intensity, no true perfection. All is in a state of promise not yet individualized, but collective, and nothing is completely realized. Why, O Lord? Thou hast put in my heart this peace so total that it seems almost to be indifference, and says in an immensity of calm serenity, whatever thou wiliest, whatever thou wiliest. July 16, 1914. Salutation of a silent and humble adoration. I bow down before thy glory, for it dominates me with all its splendor. O let me dissolve at thy feet, melt in thee. July 17, 1914. Terrestrial realizations easily assume a great importance in our eyes, for they are proportioned to our external being, to this limited form which makes of us men. But what is a terrestrial realization compared with thee, in front of thee? However perfect, however complete, however divine it may be, it is only an indiscernible moment in thy eternity. And the results obtained by it, however powerful, however marvelous they may be, are but an imperceptible atom in the infinite advance towards thee. It is this that thy workers should never forget, otherwise they will become unfit to serve thee. O my sweet Master, what a childishness it is to think oneself responsible for anything and to wish to individualize thy supreme and divine will. Is it not enough to be united with thy heart and live permanently in it? Then thou takest all the responsibility, and thy will works even without there being any need for us to know it, only a realization independent of all outer circumstances and unconfined by any attachment or understanding, however high it may be, is a true realization, a realization of value. And the only one which fulfills these conditions is to unite with thee in a union tight, integral, definitive. As for the care of thy transient and momentary manifestation, in a fugitive existence and in a passing world, it is thou who must be responsible for it and do what is necessary for it to be, if thou deemest it good. O my sweet Master, Sovereign Lord, thou hast taken all my cares and hast left me only the beatitude, the supreme ecstasy of thy divine communion. July 18, 1914. Two things remain unshakable amidst all the winds of tempest, even the most violent, the will that all may be happy with the true happiness, thy happiness. And the ardent desire to be perfectly united and identified with thee, all the rest is perhaps still the result of an effort or a pretension. This is spontaneous and unshakable. And at the moment when the very ground seems to give way under my feet and all is crumbling down, this appears luminous, pure and calm, piercing all clouds, dispelling all darkness, surging up greater and stronger from all the ruin and carrying in itself thy infinite peace and beatitude. July 19, 1914. O Lord, thou art the omnipotent master of thy own manifestation. Grant that these instruments may escape from their too narrow frames, too fixed and mediocre limits. All the riches of human possibilities are needed to translate an atom of thy infinite force, open the closed doors, set flowing the sealed fountains, and let thy torrents of eloquence and beauty pour out over the world. Amplitude and majesty, nobility and grace, charm and grandeur, variety and puissance, all are needed, for it is the will of the Lord to manifest. O my sweet Master, thou art the sovereign director of our destiny, thou art the omnipotent master of thy own manifestation. Thine are all this world, all these beings and all these atoms. Transfigure them and illumine. July 21, 1914. There was no longer the body, no longer any sensation. There was only a column of light rising from the place where is ordinarily the base of the body up to the place where is ordinarily the head, to form there a disk of light like that of the moon. Then from there the column went on rising up to very far above the head to break into an immense sun, dazzling and multicolored, from which fell a rain of golden light covering the whole earth. Then slowly the column of light descended forming an oval of living light, awakening and setting in motion, each in a particular way, according to a special mode of vibration, the centers which were above the head, at the place of the head, the throat, the heart, in the middle of the belly, at the base of the spine and still lower. At the height of the knees, the ascending and the descending currents joined together and the circulation thus became in a way uninterrupted, enveloping the whole being with an immense oval of living light. Then slowly the consciousness descended again from stage to stage, halting at every world, till the consciousness of the body came back. The resumption of the consciousness of the body was, if my memory is exact, the 9th stage. At this moment the body was still quite stiff and immobile. July 22, 1914. Thou art all love, O Lord, and the light of thy love is there deep down in all thought and in every heart. Achieve thy work of transfiguration, illumine us. Open the doors still closed, widen the horizon, establish power, unify our beings and make us participators in thy divine beatitude, so that we may help all to share in it. Let us conquer the last obstacles, inner and outer, and surmount the ultimate difficulties. An ardent and sincere prayer has never risen to thee in vain. Always in thy munificence thou respondest to every call and thy mercy is infinite. O Divine Master, let thy light fall upon this chaos and a new world emerge from it. What is now preparing accomplish and let a new humanity be born which will be the perfect expression of thy new sublime law. Nothing shall stop our elan. Nothing shall tire our endeavor. Resting upon thee all our hopes and all our activities, strong in a complete submission to thy supreme will, we shall march to the conquest of thy integral manifestation with the calm certitude of victory over all that would oppose it. Salutation to thee, O Master of the worlds who triumphest over every obscurity. July 23, 1914. O Lord, thou art all-powerful, become the fighter and win the victory. May thy love dwell as the sovereign master of our hearts and thy knowledge never leave our thoughts, do not abandon us in impotence and darkness. Shatter all limits, break all chains, dispel all illusions. Our aspiration rises towards thee as an ardent prayer. July 25, 1914. At daybreak, I sang the praise of this world where it is possible not only to desire thee, but also to know thee and even to become thyself. And I wondered that some so ardently aspire to leave this universe and enter into another and perfect world. Thou hast put so much contentment in my heart that it has become impossible for me not to be satisfied in all circumstances, inner or outer. And yet something in my being aspires always towards more beauty, more light, more knowledge, more love, in short, towards a more conscious and constant relation with thee. But that too depends on thy will, and it is when it is thy will that thou wilt accord to me the total transfiguration. July 27, 1914. Gently, humbly my prayer rises towards thee, O sweet Master, thou who acceptest without debate or criticism all that offers itself to thee. Who givest and makest thyself known to all without questioning whether they are worthy, and findest nothing too weak, too small, too modest, too insufficient to manifest thee. Let me lie down at thy feet, merge into thy heart, disappear in thee, be blotted out in thy beatitude. Or rather be solely thy servitor without pretending to anything else. I do not desire or aspire to anything more, I wish only to be thy servitor. July 31, 1914. It seems to me that it is thy will to make me pass successively through all the experiences that are generally put at the summit of a yoga as its culmination and the proof of its perfect accomplishment. The experience is intense, complete, striking, carrying in it the knowledge of all its effects, all its consequences. It is conscious and willed, it comes out of a methodical effort and not by an unexpected chance. And yet it is always unique, like the milestones placed along a path and separated from each other by a long ribbon of road. And, moreover, these milestones which stake out the infinite ascent, are never alike. Ever new, they appear to have no connection with one another. Will a moment come when thou wilt make this being capable of synthesizing all these innumerable experiences so as to draw out of them a realization new, more complete, more beautiful than all those gone through up to this day? I do not know. But thou hast taught me not to regret the exceptional state after it has disappeared any more than I desired it before it came. I no longer see in it the sign of an instability in the progress made, but the proof of an advance which is pursued deliberately, without stopping any longer than is indispensable, for the diverse stages of the path. Every time thou teachest me a little more that the means of manifestation is limited only because we think it to be so, and that it can effectively share in thy infinitude. Every time something of thy immensity is allied to the instrument which is its dwelling place, flinging wide the doors which open upon limitless horizons. August 2, 1914. What are these powerful gods whose hour of manifestation upon earth has come, if not the modes, various and perfectly accomplished, of thy infinite action, O thou Master of all things, who art being and non-being and that which is beyond them, marvelous unknowable, our sovereign Lord? What are all these brilliant and multiple intellectual activities, these innumerable rays of the sun illumining, conceiving and fashioning all forms, if not one of the modes of being of thy infinite will, one of the means of thy manifestation, O thou who art master of our destiny, sole unthinkable reality, sovereign Lord of all that is and all that still is not? And what are all these mental powers and vital energies and material elements, if not thyself in thy most external form, thy ultimate modes of expression and realization, O thou whom we adore devoutly and who escapest us on all sides even while penetrating, animating and directing us, thou whom we cannot know nor define nor name, thou whom we cannot seize nor embrace nor think and who are yet realized in the least of our actions. And all this enormous universe is but an atom of thy eternal will. In the immensity of thy effective presence, all unfolds. August 3, 1914. This morning the whole being is a mute adoration and the immensity of thy love fills its soul. The preparation and the work and the preparation, alternate and interpenetrate to such an extent that sometimes it is difficult to distinguish between them. And their combination constitutes thy divine life upon earth. What we have to be, what we have to do, the perfectioning of thy instrument and its utilization go together. Sometimes it is thy will that it should enrich itself and grow, that it should open all its doors upon infinite horizons, unite itself with the God it can manifest, develop its power of conscious relations with the various worlds, and sometimes that, losing, so to say, the consciousness of itself, it should be only thy force in action. And in the two together is found the supreme law of communion with thy will. This morning the whole being is a mute adoration, and the immensity of thy love fills its soul. August 4th, 1914. Lord, Eternal Master. Men, pushed by the conflict of forces, are making a sublime sacrifice. They are offering their lives in a sanguinary holocaust. Lord, Eternal Master, grant that it may not be in vain, that the inexhaustible torrents of thy divine force may spread over the earth, penetrating into the troubled atmosphere, the struggling energies, all the violent chaos of the battling elements. And that the pure light of thy knowledge and the inexhaustible love of thy benediction may fill the hearts of men, penetrate into their souls, illumine their consciousness, and make to pour forth out of this obscurity, this somber, terrible and powerful darkness the splendor of thy majestic presence. My being is before thee in an integral holocaust, so that it may make their unconscious holocaust effective. Accept this offering, reply to our call, come. August 5th, 1914. Eternal Master, thou art in all things as a vivifying breath, as a sweet peace, as a sun of luminous love, piercing all cloud and obscurity. Grant that we may be thy vivifying breath, thy sweet peace, thy luminous love upon the earth amongst our ignorant and sorrowful human brothers. O Divine Master, accept the offering of my integral holocaust, so that thy work may be done and the time may not pass in vain. In a serene ecstasy I give myself to thee, that thou mayst become again the master of thine own, the possessor of thyself in each of the innumerable atoms and in the synthetic unity of the consciousness. O Divine Master, accept the offering of this integral holocaust, so that the time may not have come in vain. The whole being is transformed into the ardent flame of a sacrifice of pure love. Become again the king of thy kingdom, deliver the earth from the heavy weight which crushes her, the weight of her inert, ignorant and obscure ill will. O my sweet Master, my being burns with the ardent flame of the sacrifice of love. Accept my offering so that the obstacle may be surmounted. August 6th, 1914. What then are the defects and imperfections preventing the offering from being complete enough for thee to welcome it or to find the holocaust worthy of thy acceptance? There are still limitations in this being, wilt thou not break them? O Lord, we know that it is a grave hour for the earth. Those who can be thy intermediaries with her to make arise out of the conflict a greater harmony, and out of the obscure ugliness a diviner beauty, must be ready to do it. O Lord, Eternal Master, we implore thee, respond to our endeavors, enlighten them, show us the way, give us the strength to break the inner resistances, to surmount all obstacles. O my sweet Master, I prostrate myself at thy feet, and all my being cries to thee in an ardent supplication, deliver me from my personal impotence. August 8th, 1914. My pen is silent. This material world is so absorbing. Why let it hold so much place in our consciousness? Is it an impotence on our part, or is it thy will? O my sweet Master, I would live only in thee, but thou hast said that I must live for thee, and while I thus live for thee, my consciousness turns towards the external domains, and it seems to me as if I were going away far from thee. I know that this is not at all exact. But there is still a resistance in the being which does not want to give way, a door which remains closed, a door of luminous intelligence which no effort has yet been able to open, and this terribly impoverishes thy manifestation. When wilt thou decide that the hour has come for all this to disappear? Monstrous forces have swept down upon the earth like a hurricane, they are dark and violent, powerful and blind. Give us the force, O Lord, to illumine them. Thy splendor must burst forth in them everywhere and transfigure their action. After their devastating passage they must leave behind them a divine seed. O my divine Master, do not reject my offering. Make me worthy of being integrally thine in the plenitude of the giving and of the manifestation. August 9th, 1914. Lord, we are before thee that thy will may be done. Remove from our thought all obstacles, all doubts, all weaknesses and limitations, all that veils our knowledge and obscures our understanding. I am athirst for thy consciousness, I am athirst for an integral union with thee, not in inaction and in a flight away from physical activity, but in a complete, an absolute, a perfect accomplishment of thy will. The splendor of thy supreme light must surge out from all this darkness that has swooped down upon the earth. August 11th, 1914. O my sweet Master, enter in among all these thoughts in confusion, all these anguished hearts. Light in them the fire of thy divine presence. The shadow cast by the earth has fallen back on her and she has been utterly shaken by it. But her shadow hid thy changeless sun, and now that it has collapsed upon this poor world, making it tremble to its foundations and transforming it into a formidable chaos, wilt thou not move once more upon the chaos with the will that there should be light? O thou wonderful unknown, thou who hast not yet manifested thyself, thou who awaitest the auspicious hour and who hast sent us on earth to prepare thy ways, all the elements of this being cry to thee, may thy will be done, and give themselves to thee in a supreme and unconquerable elan. Enfold this sorrowful earth with thy puissant arms of mercy, impregnate her with the beneficent outflowing of thy infinite love. I am thy puissant arms of mercy. I am the vast bosom of thy limitless love. The arms have enfolded the sorrowful earth and tenderly press it to the generous heart, and slowly a kiss of supreme benediction settles on this atom in conflict, the kiss of the mother that consoles and heals. August 13th, 1914. The being stands before thee, its arms lifted, its palms open in an ardent aspiration. O sweet Master, it is a love more wonderful and formidable than any that has manifested up till this day, of which the earth has need. It is for this love that she implores. Who will be able or worthy to be its intermediary with her? Who? It matters little. But it must be done. O Lord, answer my call, accept this being as an offering, however modest its worth and whatever its limitations, come. More, always more. Let the regenerating floods roll over the earth in beneficent waves. Transform and illumine. Accomplish this supreme miracle, so long looked for, of breaking these ignorant egoisms. Awaken thy sublime flame in each heart. Let us not become inert in a tranquil serenity. We must not take any rest till thy new and sovereign love is manifested. Listen to our prayer. Answer our call, come. August 16th, 1914. For 3 days I waited with an ardent prayer, hoping to see new things, and all the obstacles surged up to veil, retard and deform thy manifestation. And now we seem to be no nearer our goal than before. O my sweet Master, why hast thou asked me to leave my blessed place in thy heart and return to the earth to attempt a realization which everything seems to prove impossible? What dost thou expect from me that thou hast torn me away from my divine and marvelous contemplation and plunged me again into this dark world in conflict? When thy force descends towards the earth to manifest itself, each of the great Asuric beings who have resolved to be thy servitors, but preserve the dominant and exclusive characteristic of their nature, wishes to draw it to himself alone so that he may distribute it to others afterwards. He always thinks that he should be the only or, in any case, the supreme intermediary, and that the relation of all the others with thy power cannot and should not be made except through his mediation. This melancholy meanness is more or less conscious, but it is always there, indefinitely retarding things. If, even for the greatest, it is impossible in the integral manifestation to escape from these lamentable limitations, why, O Lord, dost thou impose on me the Calvary of this narrowness? If it is thy will that it should be so, thou must rend the last veil and thy splendor in all its purity must come to transfigure the world. Accomplish this miracle or let me retire in thee. August 17th, 1914. All errors, all prejudices, all misunderstandings must disappear in this whirlwind of destruction which is sweeping away the past. The light must become perfectly pure, free from all limitation, so that thou canst manifest fully in it. Lord, thou hast the power and thou wilt realize this supreme miracle. Into this consciousness thou hast put the certitude of victory. August 18, 1914. Let me turn towards thee in a profound and silent contemplation. Let me put this integral being and its multiple activities at thy feet as an offering. Let me stop all the play of these forces, unify all these consciousnesses, so that one alone may persist, that which is capable of hearing thy command and understanding it. Let me plunge again into thee as into a sovereignly beneficent sea, the sea which purifies from all ignorance. It seems to me that I have descended very low into an unfathomable abyss of doubt and darkness, that I am exiled from thy eternal splendors. But I know that in this descent lies the possibility of a higher ascension which will enable me to embrace a vaster horizon and touch from a little closer range thy infinite heavens. Thy light is there, stable and directing, shining without intermission in the depths of the abyss even as in the luminous splendors. And a serene confidence, a calm indifference, a tranquil certitude dwell in my consciousness in a way that is permanent. I am like a boat which has for a long time tasted the pleasures of the port and now unfurls its sails in spite of the dark clouds charged with storm and hiding the sun, to launch out into the great unknown, towards unknown shores and new countries. I am thine, O Lord, without restrictions and preferences. May thy will be done in all its rigorous plenitude. All my being adheres to it with a joyful acceptance and a calm serenity. I have no longer idea on the future, it is thou who wilt give birth to a new and more adequate conception of thy law. In a most perfect surrender and a most entire confidence I wait, thy voice showing me thy way. August 20th, 1914. To see the goal, from a new angle which can usefully enlighten the others, we must constantly renew the experience of the inner discovery and rise to the extreme limit of our consciousness, without ever postulating in advance what will be the term of our journey. But instinctively the mind remembers the impression it has received from one or more of the preceding contacts of its consciousness with the ultimate center, and it says to itself, it is this which is found at the end of the path, without taking into account the fact that this of which he is thinking is only one of the innumerable ways of translating or even travestying that goal, and that intellectual conception should follow experience and not precede it. To resume the way in a complete innocence as if we had never yet travelled upon it, that is the true purity and perfect sincerity, which permits of an uninterrupted progress, a growth and a perfectioning which is integral. In spite of myself, in the silence of all thought, that is to say of all conscious formula, something in my being deeper than words, turns towards thee, O ineffable Lord, in an ardent aspiration, making thee an offering of all these activities, all these elements, all these modes of being, and imploring for it all the supreme illumination. O thou whom I cannot think but whom I know with certitude. August 21st, 1914. O Lord, Lord, the whole earth is convulsed. She groans and suffers, she is in anguish, it must not be that all this suffering has fallen upon her in vain. Grant that all this blood which has been poured out may produce a more rapid germination of all the seeds of beauty, light and love which have to flower and cover the earth with their rich harvest. From the depth of this abyss of darkness, the integral terrestrial being cries to thee that thou mayst give it air and light. It stifles, wilt thou not come to its aid? O Lord, what must we do to triumph? Listen to us, for we must conquer at any cost. Break down all resistance, appear. August 24th, 1914. Lord, it is with a deeply moved gratitude that I approach thee. Thou hast given me the first words of the knowledge so much longed for, and with this knowledge has come effectivity, real power in every domain of realization. It is only a beginning, it is not an accomplishment. But the path opens visible and straight, I have only to follow it. The veil has been rent in response to the modest but all-powerful effort of the days of obscurity. Grant that the route may be lit up in the same way for all, and that after we have seen clear in ourselves, there may not be any new difficulties for the knowledge to become conscious in others. In spite of all, the human being, however great he may be, is limited and must be so at least for a long time, by the very fact of his humanity. And even if he is in relation with the immensity, it is through the angle of his own personality that this immensity manifests itself to his external consciousness. It is very difficult for him not to have the perspective in some sort obliterated partially by his own point of view. But these last obstacles must be surmounted, definitely overthrown, so that they may not again arise. The way must be completely free, the knowledge that has been glimpsed firmly established. Thy grace is with us, Lord, and it never leaves us even when the appearances are dark. There is sometimes need of night to prepare a greater dawn. But perhaps this time thou hast put us in front of a dawn that does not cease. Receive the offerings of our ardent gratitude and of our total surrender. I knew that this book would end with the closing of a phase of the spiritual life. That indeed is what is actually happening. The light has come, the way has opened. With a grateful salutation to the laborious past, we shall push forward on the new way widely opened by thee before us. On the threshold of this new field of a vaster and more conscious realization, we bow before thee, Lord, in a total surrender and adoration. We give ourselves to thee without reserve. Once again it is thou who livest in us, and thou alone. Thou hast become again the king of thy kingdom, but a kingdom larger and more complete, a kingdom more worthy of thy government. August 25, 1914. Lord, may thy will be done, may thy work be accomplished. Fortify our devotion, increase our surrender and enlighten us on the path. We establish thee as the Supreme Master within us so that thou mayst become the Supreme Master of the whole earth. Our words are still ignorant, illumine them. Our aspiration is still imperfect, purify it. Our action is still powerless, make it effective. O Lord, this earth groans and suffers. Chaos has made this world its abode. The darkness is so great that thou alone canst dispel it. Come, manifest thyself that thy work may be accomplished. August 26, 1914. O my sweet Master, Lord of bliss, all these worlds of bliss interpenetrating and completing one another are an immensity difficult to see in its ensemble. Give us the knowledge of these laws and the power of awakening the earth to the understanding and perception of this goal pursued so blindly. In all things thou art the unalloyed happiness, the blissful felicity, but this felicity is perfect only when it is integral from the most external manifestation to the most unfathomable depths. O Lord, thou hast placed me on the threshold of wonder, confirm me in this knowledge. Establish me in that center of consciousness from which the actions will be nothing but an unmixed expression of thy law. In a powerful and mute adoration I wait. August 27, 1914. To be the divine love, love powerful, infinite, unfathomable, in every activity, in all the worlds of being, it is for this I cry to thee, O Lord. Let me be consumed with this love divine, love powerful, infinite, unfathomable, in every activity, in all the worlds of being. Transmute me into that burning brazier so that all the atmosphere of earth may be purified with its flame. O to be thy love infinitely. August 28, 1914. Lord, eternal Master, my thought lies mute and powerless before thee, but my heart calls to thee. Awaken all my being that it may wholly be for thee the necessary instrument, the perfect servitor. O to be thou, infinitely, in everything, everywhere and always, absolute silence and absolute movement. To be only the one containing all, contained in all, free from all limit and all blindness. Supreme Victor, triumph over all obstacles. August 29, 1914. Of what use would be man if he was not made to throw a bridge between that which eternally is, but is not manifested, and that which is manifested? Between all the transcendences, all the splendors of the divine life and all the obscure and sorrowful ignorance of the material world? Man is the intermediary between that which has to be and that which is. He is a bridge thrown over the abyss, he is the great X as the cross, the quaternary link. His true abode, the effective seat of his consciousness, should be in the intermediate world at the joining point of the four arms of the cross, where all the infinity of the unknowable comes to take precise form for being projected into the multitudinous manifestation. This center is the seat of supreme love and perfect consciousness, of pure and total knowledge. Establish there, O Lord, those who can, who must and who will to serve thee truly, so that thy work may be done, the bridge may be definitively established and thy forces may spread untiringly in the world.